Marcus Hayes never believed in ghosts. He was an IT consultant, a man who trusted code and logic, not superstitions or ghost stories. So when he checked into the Cascade View Inn in Portland, Oregon on a rainy Tuesday night in late October, the last thing on his mind was anything supernatural. He was just tired. Tired from a 6-hour flight delay, tired from back-to-back meetings, and ready to collapse into bed. The hotel was one of those old renovated places in the Pearl District. Beautiful brick exterior, Art Deco lobby, the kind of place that charged extra for ambience. Marcus didn't care. His company was paying. He just wanted a quiet room and a good night's sleep. The front desk clerk was a young guy, probably in his early 20s, with a name tag that read Devin. He handed Marcus his key card with a polite smile. "Room 214, Mr. Hayes. Elevators to your left. Enjoy your stay." Marcus thanked him and headed toward the elevator. The lobby was mostly empty at this hour, just him and an older couple sitting by the fireplace. As he waited for the elevator, Marcus noticed something odd. The elevator panel had 4 buttons: Lobby 2, 3, and a 4th button that had been covered with a brass plate. Not removed, just covered. Like someone wanted to hide it but couldn't bring themselves to take it out completely. Marcus thought it was strange, but he was too exhausted to care. He pressed the button for the 2nd floor and rode up in silence. The hallway was dimly lit with that old hotel smell. You know the one. A mix of cleaning products, old carpet, and something else you can't quite place. He found room 214, swiped his card, and stepped inside. The room was nice enough. Queen bed, flat screen TV, a window overlooking the street below. Rain was coming down harder now, drumming against the glass. Marcus kicked off his shoes, plugged in his phone, and was asleep within minutes. At 3:47 in the morning, his phone buzzed on the nightstand. Marcus groaned and reached for it, squinting at the bright screen in the darkness. One new voicemail. He frowned. Who the hell was calling him at 3 in the morning? He hadn't heard the phone ring. Maybe the sound had been off. Still half asleep, he pressed play and held the phone to his ear. What he heard made his blood run cold. It was a woman's voice, panicked, whispering, "Please, I'm in room 412. I can't get out. The door won't open. Can you hear me? Please, someone help me." Marcus sat up in bed, suddenly wide awake. The voicemail ended. He stared at his phone, his heart pounding. Room 412? But there was no 4th floor. He'd seen the elevator, only 3 floors. He checked the call log. Unknown number. No callback option. Marcus told himself it was a prank. Maybe some drunk guest had called the wrong number. But something about the woman's voice bothered him. The fear in it sounded real. Too real. He tried to go back to sleep, but he couldn't shake the feeling that something was very wrong. The next morning, Marcus went down to the front desk. Devin was there again. Or maybe it was the morning shift and someone else. Actually, no. It was a different person. A woman in her 50s with short gray hair and a name tag that read Patricia. Marcus approached the counter. "Excuse me, I have kind of a weird question. Does this hotel have a 4th floor?" Patricia looked up from her computer and smiled politely. "No, sir. Just 3 floors. Is there a problem with your room?" Marcus hesitated. "I received a strange voicemail last night. A woman saying she was trapped in room 412. Patricia's smile faded. Her face went pale, just for a second, but Marcus caught it. "I'm sorry, Mr. Hayes, but there is no room 412. There is no 4th floor. It must have been a wrong number or some kind of prank call." Her voice was steady, but Marcus could see her hands trembling slightly as she typed on her keyboard. "Are you sure?" he pressed. "Because the elevator has a 4th button. It's covered, but it's there." Patricia's jaw tightened. "That button hasn't worked in decades, sir. The fourth floor was sealed off after a fire in 1987. It's been closed ever since. Now, is there anything else I can help you with? Her tone made it clear the conversation was over. Marcus went back to his room, but he couldn't let it go. A fire in 1987, a sealed fourth floor, and a voicemail from room 412. He opened his laptop and started searching. Portland Hotel Fire, 1987. It didn't take long to find the articles. The Cascade View Inn, then called the Cascade Hotel, had suffered a devastating fire on the fourth floor in October of 1987. 3 people had died. The fire had started in the early morning hours, around 3:30 a.m. Investigators believed it was caused by faulty wiring in one of the rooms. Marcus kept reading, his stomach twisting into knots. One of the victims was a 28-year-old woman named Rachel Hartley. She had been staying in room 412. According to the reports, Rachel had called the front desk multiple times during the fire, begging for help. But by the time firefighters reached the fourth floor, it was too late. The article mentioned something else that made Marcus's skin crawl. Rachel's final call to the front desk came in at 3:47 a.m., the same time Marcus had received the voicemail. He sat back in his chair, staring at the screen. This had to be a coincidence. It had to be. That night, Marcus tried to stay awake. He kept his phone on the nightstand, volume turned all the way up, and waited. The hours dragged by. 11 p.m., midnight, 1 a.m., nothing. By 2:30, his eyes were starting to droop. Maybe it really had been a prank. Maybe he was overthinking this. At 3:47 a.m., his phone buzzed. Marcus's eyes snapped open. Another voicemail. His hand shook as he picked up the phone and pressed play. The same woman's voice. But this time, she sounded more desperate. "Please? Is anyone there? I can see smoke coming under the door now. It's getting hard to breathe. I'm in room 412, 4th floor. Why won't anyone answer me?" Marcus's heart was hammering in his chest. He checked the call log again. Unknown number. No timestamp. It was like the call had come from nowhere. He sat on the edge of the bed, trying to think. This wasn't possible. Rachel Hartley had died 37 years ago, but her voice was on his phone right now, describing things that had happened the night she died. Marcus made a decision. He had to see the 4th floor for himself. He threw on jeans and a hoodie, grabbed his phone, and stepped out into the hallway. The hotel was dead silent at this hour. Not a sound except the hum of the ice machine down the hall. Marcus took the elevator down to the lobby. It was empty. No one at the front desk. He walked past it and started searching for another way up. There had to be stairs. Fire exits. Sure enough, he found a stairwell near the back of the building. He pushed through the door and started climbing. 2nd floor, 3rd floor, and then he saw it. Another door at the top of the stairs. It was marked "Authorized Personnel Only" and had a heavy chain wrapped around the handle with a padlock. But the door itself looked old. The wood was warped, and the chain was rusty. Marcus pulled on it experimentally. It rattled but held firm. He stood there for a long moment, staring at that door. Every rational part of his brain was screaming at him to turn around and go back to his room. But he couldn't. He had to know. Marcus went back down to the lobby and looked around. Behind the front desk, he spotted a pegboard with keys hanging on it. Maintenance keys. He glanced around to make sure no one was watching, then quickly reached over the desk and grabbed a bolt cutter he'd noticed leaning against the wall. His hands were sweating as he carried it back to the stairwell. The chain snapped easier than he expected. The sound echoed through the stairwell like a gunshot. Marcus froze, listening. No alarms. No footsteps. Nothing. He unwrapped the chain and pushed the door open. It creaked loudly, and a rush of stale air hit him in the face. Beyond the door was darkness. Complete darkness. Marcus turned on his phone's flashlight and stepped through. The fourth-floor hallway stretched out before him, and it was perfect, untouched. The wallpaper was intact, gold roses on a cream background. The carpet was clean, a deep burgundy color. Light fixtures hung from the ceiling, their bulbs dark but unbroken. It was like stepping back in time. Marcus walked slowly down the hallway, his footsteps muffled by the carpet. Room 402, 404, 406. The numbers were still on the doors, brass plates gleaming in his flashlight beam. And then he saw it. Room 412. The door was closed. Marcus stopped in front of it, his breath coming in short gasps. He reached out and touched the door. It was cold, ice cold. He tried the handle, locked. And then, from inside the room, he heard it, a sound that made his blood freeze. Someone was pounding on the door from the other side, frantic, desperate. Bang, bang, bang. Marcus stumbled backward, his phone nearly slipping from his hand. "Hello?" he called out, his voice cracking. The pounding stopped, and then his phone rang. Not a voicemail this time, an actual call. He looked at the screen. Unknown number. With trembling fingers, he answered. "Hello?" The woman's voice came through, and this time it was clear, close, like she was standing right next to him. "I can see your shadow under the door. Please open it. The smoke is so thick, I can't breathe. Please." Marcus looked down. There was a thin line of light coming from under the door of room 412, and his shadow was visible in that light. "I'm trying," Marcus said, pulling on the door handle. "It's locked. I can't open it." He threw his shoulder against the door. Once, twice, it wouldn't budge. "Please," Rachel's voice sobbed through the phone. "Please help me. I don't want to die here." And then Marcus smelled it. Smoke. Thin wisps of gray smoke were seeping out from under the door. In the present. Right now. "No," Marcus whispered. "No, this isn't real." He stepped back from the door, his mind reeling. This had already happened. Rachel Hartley died in that room 37 years ago. He couldn't save her. He was just witnessing it. Somehow, this place was replaying that night over and over, and he'd stumbled into it. The smoke was getting thicker now. It was curling up from under the door, spreading across the carpet. Marcus could hear Rachel screaming on the other end of the phone. And then, suddenly, silence. The call ended. The smoke stopped. The light under the door went out. Marcus stood in the darkness, his whole body shaking. He turned and ran. He burst through the stairwell door and didn't stop running until he reached his room. He slammed the door behind him and locked it. Then he locked the deadbolt. Then he shoved a chair under the handle. He was breathing so hard he thought he might pass out. Marcus grabbed his laptop and his suitcase and started throwing his things inside. He was leaving. Right now. He didn't care that it was 4 in the morning. He didn't care about his meetings. He was getting out of this hotel. As he zipped up his suitcase, his phone buzzed. One new voicemail. Marcus stared at it. No, he wasn't listening to it. He wasn't. But his hand moved on its own, pressing play. Rachel's voice came through the speaker, but it was different now. Cold, angry. "You were there. You heard me. You could have tried harder. Now you'll know what it's like to be trapped and ignored." The voicemail ended. Marcus felt ice run through his veins. He grabbed his things and headed for the door. As he reached for the handle, he heard a sound that made him freeze. Click. The deadbolt had locked itself. Marcus tried to unlock it. It wouldn't turn. He tried the main lock. Same thing. He was locked in. "No," Marcus said, pulling harder on the door. "No, no, no." He ran to the window and tried to open it. It wouldn't budge. He looked down at the street below. The rain had stopped. The street was empty. And then he saw her, a woman standing on the sidewalk, looking up at his window. Even from the second floor, Marcus could see her face clearly. It was Rachel Hartley, the same face from the newspaper articles. She was soaked, her clothes singed and burned, and she was staring right at him. Marcus stumbled away from the window, his phone buzzing in his pocket. Another voicemail, and another, and another. They kept coming, one after another, filling up his inbox. Marcus didn't listen to them. He couldn't. He curled up in the corner of the room, his hands over his ears, waiting for morning. When the sun finally came up, the door unlocked on its own. Marcus grabbed his things and ran. He didn't check out. He didn't talk to anyone. He just got in his rental car and drove. He drove straight for the highway, heading south, away from Portland. But as he drove, something strange started happening. His GPS kept rerouting him. At first, he thought it was just a glitch, but then it happened again and again. Every route it gave him led back toward the hotel. Marcus tried to override it, taking exits and turns the GPS didn't tell him to take. But somehow, no matter which way he went, he always ended up on the same road. The one that led back to the Pearl District, back to the Cascade View Inn. "This isn't real," Marcus said out loud, his knuckles white on the steering wheel. "This isn't real." He looked in his rearview mirror and his heart stopped. There was smoke in the back seat, thin gray smoke, curling and spreading. Marcus rolled down the windows. They wouldn't open. He tried the door locks. They wouldn't unlock. The smoke was getting thicker, filling the car. Marcus started coughing, his eyes watering. He couldn't breathe. He swerved to the side of the road, slamming on the brakes. The car stopped, but the doors still wouldn't open. He was trapped, just like Rachel had been trapped. His phone started ringing. He looked at the screen through the smoke. Unknown number. He didn't want to answer it, but his hand moved anyway, bringing the phone to his ear. "Hello?" Rachel's voice came through, calm now, almost gentle. "It's your turn, Marcus." 3:47 a.m. Every night, forever. The call ended. Marcus screamed and pounded on the windows. Finally, after what felt like hours, but was probably only minutes, the smoke cleared. The doors unlocked. He stumbled out of the car, gasping for air. He left the car on the side of the road and started walking. He didn't know where he was going. He just walked. Eventually, someone picked him up, a trucker heading east. Marcus didn't tell him what had happened. He just asked for a ride to the nearest bus station. He bought a ticket back to Chicago, back home. He thought maybe if he got far enough away, it would stop. But that night, in his own apartment, in his own bed, his phone buzzed at 3:47 a.m. One new voicemail. Marcus listened to it with tears streaming down his face. It was his own voice, panicked, desperate. "Please, I'm trapped. I can't get out. Can anyone hear me? Please, someone help me." And somewhere in Portland, in a hotel that should have torn down its 4th floor decades ago, room 412 waited in the darkness. The door was closed, the lock was turned, and inside, the smoke was just beginning to rise. Because some debts can never be paid, some voices can never be silenced, and some doors should never be opened. Marcus Hayes learned that the hard way.